Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is Tuesday, July 9th. If we'd all stand, we'll have Trustee Swees lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, when you get a chance, please call the roll. You know, I've been watching the broadcast on television, so everybody try to talk a little bit more into the mic. It's coming off very light on the broadcast.
Okay.
Okay.
Trustee Costa?
Present.
Trustee DeVivo?
Present.
Trustee Janice? Trustee Sabo?
Present.
Trustee Suisse?
Present.
Trustee Yukich?
Present.
Mayor Daley?
Present. Are there any amendments to the agenda? All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 25th, 2013 meeting? First by Trustee, was that Yukich? Second by Trustee Swees. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 26, 2013 meeting?
So moved.
First by Trustee Costa,
Second.
second by Trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion? Madam, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Okay. The next portion of this meeting is reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. I'll start it out. Under Stormwater Improvement Project in Oak Valley Subdivision. Today we held a groundbreaking ceremony for the important stormwater improvement project occurring in Oak Valley Subdivision. This is one of several major projects that the village will be working on in our ongoing efforts to fix flooding problems within the village of Homer Glen. This project, including engineering, will cost approximately $180,000. It is expected that the construction phase of this project will take roughly 4 weeks to complete. If the weather holds up, then by August, 150 truckloads of sediment that was built up in the bottom of the pond will be removed. We're happy to assist the Oak Valley subdivision with this very important project. Under leaf burning, and committee consideration, I encourage the Public Services and Safety Committee to bring forth a recommendation regarding the leaf burning issue to the village board at its earliest date. I know that the committee has been working hard on this issue, discussing the leaf burning question since November of 2012. Homer Glen residents continue to ask village staff and I about the status of this important issue, and I've continued to respond to the residents that it's under discussion at the committee level. So I urge the committee to complete its good work on the investigation of leaf burning so that the village can consider the committee's recommendation. I think it's important for the public to have a timely response, especially as we head into summer with fall and falling leaves fast approaching. Under 143rd Street construction project from the northwest of Homer Fire Station to Lamont Road. Representatives from Will County Department of Highways recently informed the village of their proposed construction plans for 143rd Street. I'd like to share with all of you the county's plans for 143rd Street and my thought on their ideas. First, the Will County Department of Highways has proposed to build unmountable medians down the full stretch of 143rd Street from Bell Road to I-355. I've informed the county that I believe these proposed unmountable medians will be detrimental to both the residents and businesses in Homer Glen. In addition, I encourage them to develop the engineering plan in a manner that will allow for the potential construction of sidewalks down both sides of 143rd Street at some future date. Second, the Will County Department of Highways stated that they will only be installing street lighting at the intersection where traffic lights exist. I informed the county that the village will need to discuss the matter of street lights at an upcoming board meeting, and that feedback would be provided to the county. And finally, I suggested that the Will County Department of Highways host a public meeting in the near future to discuss their 143rd Street plans with Homer Glen residents and businesses along the corridor. As soon as the county establishes a date for the public meeting, the village will let the public know so residents can show up and voice their opinions and concerns. Stop sign changes. On Monday, July 29th, there will be a stop sign changes occurring at 151st Street and Cedar Road and Cream Road. A stop sign warrant analysis of the 151st Street and Cedar Road and Cream Road intersection was concluded by the Village of Homer Glen's consultants, H.R. Green. Recommendations were made by H.R. Green based upon the warrant analysis, which the Village Board reviewed and approved. The Village of Homer Glen will partner with the Homer Township Highway Department to make these changes. Number one, install a traffic control device, stop sign, at the southeast corner of 151st Street and Cedar Road. And two, remove the existing traffic control device stop sign at the northeast corner of 151st Street and Cream Road. Temporary warning devices will be used to give drivers early noticing of the upcoming changes. Keep an eye out for these upcoming traffic changes. Under achievements, I'd like to offer my congratulations to the following Homer Glen athletes on their recent accomplishments. Christopher Ortega won the boys 16 singles division at Northern Illinois District Qualifier. Dom Quaranta was named to the 2013 Capital One Academic All-American Division III Baseball Third Team by College Sports Information Directors of America. Homer Glen's Illinois Crush, 12 and under, traveling baseball, took first place at the Battle of the Brook tournament in Bolingbrook. 12 and under Lady Fire won their second straight soccer tournament, and the Illinois Sparks 11 under took first place at the Ho-Chunk tournament. And that concludes the mayor's report. We'll start out with trustees, down with Trustee Costa.
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Costa. Trustee Yukich?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, how about Trustee Sabo?
Yes, I have a report tonight. Reporting for the Environment Committee. The first topic is the lighting ordinance. At this time, both the Community and Economic Development Committee and the Environment Committee have reviewed and recommended amendments that the three representatives from each committee agreed to for the entire outdoor lighting ordinance. The Environment Committee recommended checking the flow in the numbering and additional wording in the attachments. These ideas did not affect the intent of the ordinance. The CED Committee accepted the Environment Committee's ideas. The CED Committee is recommending that further discussion take place at a village board workshop to be scheduled in the future. Regarding the Emerald Ash Borer request for proposals, 4 proposals were received in response to the Emerald Ash Borer grant work. The next step is to interview the companies. Part of the grant requirement is to have the company train volunteers in assisting with tree survey work. We are appealing to people who would like to be volunteers and work outdoors. Spending time as a volunteer is a very worthwhile endeavor, considering the seriousness of the Emerald Ash Borer. The Emerald Ash Borer infestation in Homer Glen. Volunteer time is accounted for as part of the match of the grant. And a related topic is tree replacement in parkways. Recently, a resident, Mrs. Lynette Gradisek, voiced her concern about losing trees to the Emerald Ash Borer and was concerned about replacing these parkway trees that she lost. Since the committee had numerous discussions on tree replacement and diversity of trees in the past, the committee is recommending to the village board the following programs to consider and research to help replace parkway trees in the future. They are: 1, consider and research a tree cycling program to relocate trees when possible. 2, to establish a tree fund to research it, to consider it. And 3, to research and consider a tree incentive program which helps the village and residents replace trees. These are some of ideas that we know other communities have implemented, and I think a comparison and research on what they do and how appropriate in the different in the different areas of planting trees and replacing trees is valuable. Regarding the 159th Street corridor, the Morton Arboretum has announced a program called Sustainability in Our Transportation Corridors, to be held on July 11th at CMAC headquarters, which is about treescape and sustainable design. This is very appropriate because we know that there's going to be changes to 159th Street and 143rd Street. David Leopold, Program Manager for CDOT, will provide information on the Pilsen Corridor project where sustainable features are built into the road construction. We are pleased to know that Alex Yerrick, our intern, is going to represent Homer Glen at this meeting. The program is free to all, and they do not limit the number of people or residents that wish to attend. Since it is at the Willis Tower, sign-up is necessary to get access to the CMAP offices. So I would say, if you're interested, to contact the village office, and they have information on how you can sign up. And that's my report.
Thank you, Trustee Sabo. Trustee Kajanis is out of town. Trustee Suisse?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reporting for the Homer Harvest Days Committee, our last meeting was postponed until Monday, the 15th. In the meantime, the committee continues to contact our businesses for sponsorships, which helps to make this event fun and unique. We are seeking volunteers for this event taking place on September 7th and 8th at the Trentina Farm, and community service hours will be available. On another note, stargazing will take place this Friday, July 12th, starting at 9 p.m. at the Trentina Farm. The papers reported the wrong start time of 8 p.m., which is only for our spring and fall events. So 9 p.m. this Friday, and hope to see everyone there under the stars. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Suisse. Trustee DeVivo?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to report that the Village of Homer Glen will hold a groundbreaking ceremony for the new park in Erin Hills subdivision on Monday, July 15th at 5 o'clock. The public is welcome. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee DeVivo. Is there a treasurer's report?
No treasurer's report, Mayor.
Does the village clerk have a report?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Does the village attorney have a report?
No report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
How about any task force chairpersons? How about any public safety officials? Okay. Does the village manager have a report?
I do, Mayor, and Janie's going to give it tonight.
Okay. Go right ahead, Janie.
So with that segue, good evening, Mayor and Village Board of Trustees. Tonight, I would like to take the opportunity to provide a tour through the project website that's been set up for the 159th Street corridor planning study that's being done. The reason why this is happening tonight is because there's been a number of opportunities for the public to interact with the consultant team and listen to presentations before the village board as the process has been unfolding. And at this point, having just gone through a visioning workshop with the public, the planning team is now at a point where they are going to begin to pull together core plan recommendations. And the schedule for the future will be the next public presentation before the village board will be on September the 24th. And then that will be followed with a date we need to determine, but not too long afterwards, with a public open house here at Village Hall in this room. So for the next couple of months, while the core recommendations are coming together, this website is really still there, and it's an active opportunity for trustees, the public, residents, and stakeholders to take advantage of having the opportunity to still interact and provide feedback and stay up to date and check in on the process. So I'd like to just spend a few minutes to show you what this website looks like. So when you go to the project website, and you can access it through the village's homepage, right underneath the picture of the mayor on the right-hand side is a little section for this 159th Street corridor study. You can click on that and you'll get to this project website which the consultants have put up. So I'd like to just direct your attention to the slide so that you can follow. This is a visual presentation. On this homepage, you will see that there are three sections at the bottom. Get involved, stay informed, and documents. So I'm just going to walk us through this. And the first section, of course, we're going to take a look at is get involved, because this is really the most important. When you click on that section, you will get directed to a page that looks like this. And you will see that there are three white sections stacked on top of each other, and although you may not be able to read this real well, I'm going to kind of walk you through it so that when you do see it on your computer screen, it will look familiar to you. So first we're going to talk about this community mapper, and it's actually a mapping tool that is interactive and kind of fun. When you click on this section, it's going to direct you to a page that looks like this. It will welcome you. It will show you what this is all about. Actually, what it is an opportunity to see what others have done on their maps, and also to create your own login. And then when you click that little green horizontal bar about the middle of the page, it'll take you to a page where you can actually build your own map. You will use the symbols in that gray shaded legend on the right to help build your own map. And then you can even add text boxes if you have specific comments about specific symbols you've placed on the map. So I just want to show you what a sample map looks like. And here's a sample map. It was one of the ones that was listed in the yellow on that first page. And you can see the individual here placed various symbols along the roadway. And near 355, they felt that this would be the right area to have big box commercial restaurant and retail located. So that's just a sample of a map. And then I want to just show you another sample before we move on. Here another individual placed symbols in other locations along the corridor there. And in the text box, they typed in that this would be a great location for a shopping center. So it's kind of fun. You can go in and see what other folks have done. You may get some ideas from that, but this is a way to share with the consultants and share with everybody that's looking at the project some of your ideas for where things belong. And this project here fairly resembles and mirrors what was done at the visioning workshop, if you were able to attend that meeting. So going back to the Get Involved page, I'm going to take you to the second section, which is called Questionnaire. And when you click on this section, you will have the opportunity to actually take either a resident questionnaire or one that's been set up for businesses with business appropriate questions. So this is just a portion of the questionnaire, just to give you an idea. And it's asking, you know, what are the most important issues facing 159th Street? And you can check the boxes that are important to you. And then you can see at the bottom there's areas where you can type in actually, so you can be free flow with this and provide your input. For instance, what types of uses of developments would you like to see along 159th Street, and you can provide your input that way. So that's another way to react or interact with the website and the project. Back to the Get Involved page one more time. I just want to show you that the bottom portion is a spot where you can actually send feedback by quickly sending an email. And so there's the section where you can type in your question or your input to the consultants. And altogether, these three areas of the mapping tool, the questionnaire, and the email feedback will help provide an opportunity for people to continue to interact and provide feedback and get it to the consultants. And so my recommendation would be, please go ahead and use these tools, but the most important timing would be to use them over the next several weeks, because as we get closer to September 24th, you know, the consultants are pulling together the recommendations. So if you have more feedback, please, by all means, use these opportunities. The second section, going back to the project website homepage, is the Stay Informed, the middle white section there. And when you click on that, what you will see is just a historic building of updates and announcements. And though you can't read this, what it is talking about are the various workshops that have been held and what they were for, and it was some of the press that went out, and this was another way to help us get the word out. And then if you see under each announcement, you'll see a string of icons, and those are all your social media sharing icons. So you can click on your Facebook, you can link to your, get to your Twitter and send followers a link from this website. You can email, you can print, there's other social media options that you can access very easily from this portion of the website if you want to share. The third area from the project website homepage is talking about documents. So this quickly takes you to this page, and the arrow is just highlighting one of those documents that are available right now from the website. And more documents will be loaded or to this page so that everybody can access it. The one that is highlighted here right now, and we'll just go ahead and click on it to show you, is the consultant's recent memo on issues and opportunities for the corridor. So it's a several-page memo that does a nice job of summarizing the various areas that we need to pay attention to, what presents opportunities, what presents issues. So altogether, this is what the project website looks like, and that gives you a little bit of the behind-the-scenes tour and hopefully shows you how very easy it is to use the website to continue to interact with the project. And again, just wanted to put this word out in hopes that we may catch people's attention to do so. And so how do we get to the website? And that would be through this direct link, which is www.hlplanning.com/Homer Glen. And you don't even have to write that down or remember it. All you really have to do is go to the village's home page, and right under the picture of the mayor on the right, there is a section for the 159th Street Corridor Planning Study. You can click on that, and you'll be directed to the project website. So thank you very much, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy.
Thank you. It looks good. Looks real informative. Happy to see it on the website. Cam, do you have anything further with the manager's
Just to
report?
add to Janie's excellent presentation, the village's website, of course, is www.homerglenil.org, and then, or is it .org? And also, I think we've already had over 300 individual hits on this particular site, so that's good. People are making use of it, but we would like more feedback. Thank you, Mayor. That's all we have.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. Next portion of this meeting is public comment. Thanks, Mark. Okay. This portion is public comment. The only speaker tonight is John Coy. If you'd like to step up to the podium and name and address for the record.
John Coy, 12056 Venetian Way, Homer Glen. This past 4th of July, I was a little upset, but anyway, this paper this morning now, some guy wrote in a little article here. Thanks to the morons shooting off heavy fireworks for a full week. I'm sure thanks will come from all the old people in the area who couldn't sleep, and children and babies who were woke up screaming, their parents of these children, and the animals that were completely traumatized. I had made a mistake of babysitting somebody's dog, and that dog did nothing but cry and bark and try and hide under the bed, behind chairs. I mean, and finally at 2 o'clock they quit setting off those big boomers. I mean, did we write any tickets for illegal fireworks? I mean, especially after 10, 11 o'clock. I mean, it's a little ridiculous. But I guess I would have to file a Freedom of Information form just to find out if any tickets were written.
I think you can step back and talk with Mark, and he can tell you how they handled the situation that night.
All right, that'd be nice.
Okay.
Like I say, it's just gets aggravating when you
Okay.
can't sleep. And it's been going on till last night was the first night without them.
Did you get a good night's sleep?
Better than I have for
Okay.
about 8 days.
Okay. Thanks, John. Okay, the next portion of this meeting is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the following items of business? Number 1, consider for approval ordinance number 13-041, an ordinance declaring a printer surplus property and authorizing the village manager to recycle said item. 2, consider the approval of a motion to refund building permit application number 9353 in the amount of $3,145. And 3, consider for approval the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning FY 2014 local contribution request.
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by trustee Costa. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Sluis?
Aye.
Trustee Yuzic?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next items on the agenda are legislation and action items. Is there a motion to approve the attached proclamation designating Accessibility Awareness Week from July 21st through July 28, 2013 in the Village of Homer Glen?
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by trustee Yukich. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Sluis?
Aye.
Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Motion carries. Miss Jen, is it Noco?
It's NOCO, yes.
Noco is here tonight on behalf of the Will Grundy Center for Independent Living to accept this proclamation. Ms. Noco, I'd ask you to come forward at this point, except I know trustee Sabo is going to ask me to read it, so I'll just read it.
It is that important.
Okay. Okay, a proclamation designating Accessibility Awareness Week from July 21st through July 28th, 2013 in the Village of Homer Glen. Whereas equal access to goods and services has long been a fundamental expectation for all citizens of Homer Glen, Illinois, and whereas the Village of Homer Glen, with a population of over 24,000, has thousands of residents with disabilities, seniors, and any number of other individuals who would benefit from improved accessibility. And whereas some of these citizens continue to experience barriers to goods and services, and local businesses lose untold profits because of that lack of accessibility. And whereas accessibility advocates are forcing their efforts on the following 3 priorities to address what they see as necessary to promote compliance within Will County and the Village of Homer Glen business community. Encourage volunteer efforts to remove structural barriers within local businesses. Increase compliance of laws requiring equal access by persons with disabilities, and provide resources to individuals involved in creating and utilizing that access. And whereas the Accessibility Cities Alliance, which is the broad-based network of Will County's community leaders, disability advocates, and business community representatives, seek to join forces with the Village of Homer Glen in addressing the immense challenge of ensuring full and total accessibility for all citizens. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer Glen that the week of July 21st through July 28th, 2013 be designated as Accessibility Awareness Week in the Village of Homer Glen in honor of the 23rd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and continue our efforts towards increasing accessibility for all citizens of the Will County, in Will County and the Village of Homer Glen. If you'd like to come up.
Sure.
We'll get out in front, we'll take a picture.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. If you'd like to say
As a board member of the Will Grundy Center for Independent Living, I'd just like to thank the Village of Homer Glen for issuing this proclamation. It means a lot to us. And for anyone who's available in the community, on August 15th, we'll be holding our annual empowerment event at Harrah's Casino in Joliet, if you'd like to join. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see, we are number 2. Is there a motion to approve the attached 2-year lease with Peterson Properties for 15757 Anico Drive, Unit Number 3, Homer Glen, Illinois? It is understood that the village will pay $1,925 a month for June 1 through December 31st, 2013. From January 1st through January 31st, 2014, the village will pay $2,100 a month. From January 1st through May 31st, 2015, the village will pay $2,250 a month.
So moved.
First by trustee Costa.
Yukich.
Is it Yukich? Sorry
Second.
about that one.
He seconded it.
Second by trustee Costa. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Madam- Trustee Sabo?
I would just like to review on page, well, it's not a page, it would be number 15. It's item 15. It starts at the bottom of the
Page
page 4, and then I'm concerned about the paragraph at the top. And this, the title of this section is indemnification. And there's one question that I do have, and that's due to weather. Something happens to the roof, either damaged by water, snow, or ice, some coming through the roof, or skylights, or hatches, or windows. That means that the entity that is leasing will have to repair this damage? Is that what it means?
I'd just ask the village attorney to interpret that.
It is not. It says that the landlord's not responsible if any of the conditions described therein cause damage to the lessee's property.
The landlord is not responsible?
Right.
So that means that the entity that leases it would be responsible?
For damage to the lessee's property.
So the signs that we store in there, everything that we store in.
You need to speak up a little bit.
Not the building itself, but the items that we store in the building. If there was damage to those,
I see, but not to the building itself?
not to the building itself.
Okay, I assume this is a standard lease?
Correct.
Oh, I just need a clarification on that.
Okay, no problem. Okay, there was a first, a second. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be I3. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 13-042, an ordinance declaring 5 filing cabinets as surplus property and authorize the village manager to dispose of said items?
So moved.
First by trustee Costa,
Second.
second by trustee Yukich. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I had a question on
Go
the
ahead.
condition of the filing cabinets. I mean, they look good. The drawers pull out. Just wondering, are they, is it something that could be salvageable? Could we store them at EMA for future use? So those are my questions. I
Sure,
hate to get rid
absolutely.
of things that work.
Sure, absolutely. Well, a couple of them are damaged and they're unsafe. You pull them out, and if you pull them out too far, they come out. Okay, that's happened once since I've been here. That's what the crack in the floor is about. So I don't want to take off anybody's foot or anything like that. So those are the farthest ones to the south. The ones to the north, one of them has doors that are off. There are two that potentially could be reusable. We're trying not to move any more items like this into cold storage because we have a considerable amount of items like this in cold storage that we're trying to weed through. But we are going to, the two that are in the best shape, we're going to try to find somebody that wants to donate those to. We think we might have an entity that might be interested, a nonprofit entity that might be interested in it. The
Okay.
other three will probably be scrapped for metal, and then that money would, of course, come back to the village coffers.
Okay, that answers my concern.
Okay, are there any other questions, discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next portion, that concludes legislation and action items. The next portion of this meeting is a workshop item. Tonight, we'll have a brief presentation from the village manager on the parkland and park development issue in the Amberfield subdivision.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, so this is a very important discussion tonight. At the end of this presentation, what I'm hoping to get from the board is a poll on what direction you would like for me to communicate to the LLC that's held by the bank that currently has control of this subdivision, and potential potential builders that are looking in this particular subdivision. We have an outstanding question related to the proposed parkland for the subdivision that we really need to get addressed. So let me give you some information about this. This is mostly for the public's benefit. The village board is very well aware of the Amberfield subdivision. Amberfield is located in blue there off of Parker. The green line that you see above it is actually the village's Heroes Trail, right now our westernmost terminus. So Amberfield, a little bit of a timeline. The preliminary plat was recommended for approval by the Plan Commission in October of 2003. The drainage plan was recommended for approval in February of 2004. Final plat got a recommendation for approval in September of 2004. The village board then acted upon the preliminary plat December of 2003, the drainage plan in March of 2004, and then the final plat was approved on September 21st, 2004, about 8 years and 9 months ago. So the concept, there's 51 unit townhome complex. There are 24 units that have been completed and are occupied. 3 units were started but never completed. They are in the northern part of the subdivision. 24 units have not been started. In other words, the ground is vacant. Therefore, there's about 27 units still need to be completed and sold. The units are approximately 2,000 square feet in size and are 1 to 1.5 stories. And the community is actually age targeted, but not actually age restricted. So this subdivision has our stormwater concept here in the village. The original stormwater concept was revised to align more closely with the village's stormwater management vision that's on the books right now. The revised plan was approved separately by the village board back in March of 2004. The Amberfield stormwater concept includes bioswales to promote infiltration of water, evaporation, and water improvement, improved water quality. So the system actually pipes stormwater to the bioswales to allow the water to run and the water runoff from impervious areas to be filtered through the bioswales before it reaches the subdivision's detention areas. The concept promotes the use of native plantings. So in the Plan Commission's review, what I wanted staff to do is to give me, since all of this happened before I got here, I kind of wanted some background on how everything came about. So back in June of 2003, the Plan Commission noted that parkland donation is required in their meetings, and the Commission also discussed adding a walking path or a trail to the subdivision. And then in June of 2003, the 26th, their second meeting, there was a meeting where the village manager at the time, Glen, the subdivision's developer, the village engineer, developer's engineer, etc., visited the site, and they agreed that building a trail on the east side of Parker Road to the ComEd easement where they knew the future Heroes Trail would go was not feasible due to topography. And if you go out on the site or as you drive by on Parker and you look off to the site, you'll notice that there's a pretty significant drop from the road, so that they knew that wasn't going to be possible. The group agreed that a trail on the west side of Parker Road was a better fit. That's over where the township has a existing park. And then the chairman of the Plan Commission at the time asked for a pedestrian easement between the subdivision's buildings 3 and 4. And the Plan Commission member at the time stated that it would be preferable to add a footbridge. And they talked a little bit about the remaining trails in the Amberfield subdivision at that time. So those are all documented in the minutes, and that's where a lot of the discussion about the park and the trails and whatnot officially first enters the village's record. So then, back in July of 2003, the Plan Commission members noted that the developer is proposing 4 acres of open space, but the acreage is not buildable. And then in October of 2003, the developer returns to the Plan Commission with a revised proposal that includes a subdivision park. Again, the village board approved the preliminary plan for Amberfield on December 16th, 2003, just a couple months later. So the part at the top that the arrow is pointing to was to be the proposed park. Just below that pink swervy line is actually the detention for the subdivision. The boxes that you see that encircle the road are the actual lots where the townhomes exist. So the proposed park. The proposed park site is currently owned by Homer Glen Amber SB1 LLC. This is the LLC that actually holds title to the entire remaining parcel with the lots, the detention, everything. The park site was proposed to be approximately 1 acre in size. It was going to be passive in nature. There was going to be a walking path, a bridge, and a nature area. And the bridge is proposed to be constructed over the creek because access to the proposed park and the path are not possible without a bridge that gaps that divide. So this, I know the village board has this in front of you. This is actually a map, part of the approval process. Again, we colored it up a little bit to make it a little bit easier to see. The pink portion kind of outlines the detention area, and then the green portion on this map outlines what was to have been the proposed park. And you see where the yellow bridge that kind of goes over the creek that's there in the middle. The two boxes on the bottom are part of the residential units. The yellow, I had Aaron the red, I had Aaron go in and color up where the trails were to have gone. And you can see the trails, they kind of meander through existing tree growths that are there. There's a lot of trees that are developed in the trails kind of meander through with the bridge in yellow right in the middle. The two red the horseshoe red on the bottom the bottom of the sheet go back to the street in the subdivision, and that public access that I talked about a couple minutes ago that the Plan Commission wanted is that red path that goes down to the road on the right-hand side. So there's a couple options that staff talked to the Administration and Finance Committee meeting about, and I want to talk to you about tonight. One of those options is to require any builder, not developer, because there'll be builders that will probably come in and look at these parcels, to require any builder who purchased the remaining 27 available units to proceed with the park site donation and require the builder to build the proposed park as it was intended, with a bridge, with the trails, etc. Option B would be to forgo the proposed park site donation and improvement and instead require a park donation from the builder or builders for the remaining 27 units. The site originally intended for a park would then be deeded over to the Amberfield Homeowners Association to remain a nature area and a buffer for the subdivision. In other words, if we could go back for a moment, the pink area that you see, that's the detention. That is already going to be owned by the Homeowners Association. The Homeowners Association is going to own the detention area. So the second option that I mentioned would also have the Homeowners Association owning the green section. So they would basically own all the property north of their subdivision to where the ComEd lines or ComEd's property starts. And that would be a potentially nice natural buffer for the subdivision for all the power lines and whatnot. So option A, what would have to happen for option A? Staff has kind of identified the following steps that would have to occur in order for a builder to proceed with the park site donation. First of all, obviously the builder would need to secure the site. They would need to buy it from the LLC. And then they would have to hire a consultant engineer because the site's topography has never been fully determined. And then they would have to perform a wetland delineation. They'd have to hire an engineer to do that. And if a wetland is determined to be on the site, which staff feels it is, then a permit application would have to be submitted to the Army Corps of Engineers, obviously. Prior to submitting a permit, the design phase of the site, the bridge and the pass will have to be completed because the Army Corps, as a part of the permitting process, will want to see all that stuff. So the developer would have to go ahead and, the builder, would have to go ahead and invest the money in developing basically the plans for the park prior to getting the full permit from the Army Corps. And then, of course, there have to be a bid and selection process, and then construction and inspection and all those things that we would typically do. There's a kind of a picture of the park land is in the back of the photo where the trees are. What you see in the front is basically the detention areas. Then option B, what would have to occur for this? Well, the park contribution for attached single-family 3-bedroom unit is about $4,200. The park contribution for an attached single-family 2-bedroom unit is about $3,500. So there are 27 units yet to be finished in Amberfield. If a mix of 2- and 3-bedroom units were sold, which the current subdivision currently has a mix of 2- and 3-bedroom units, the village could expect approximately $105,000 in park donations to be collected from the remaining unsold units. That, of course, is making the assumption that the builder would agree to pay those amounts that the village has established and have been in place for a while. There's another site. That's what you see in the foreground again is kind of the detention area. The park is on the back side. The reason I put this in here is that you kind of see the power lines in the back. Now, the interesting thing is, we can't get away from power lines in the community in a lot of places, but the trees that exist there now help you to focus your attention on the trees, and you don't immediately go to the power lines. There are a couple poles that support the power lines behind the trees farther to the left that you can't see in this picture. Unfortunately, if the park was to have been built at some point, a number of those trees would have to come down because it's very dense vegetation, and you can't build a path system when trees are 3 and 4 feet apart. So the nice thing about not going to the next step and requiring this area to be turned into a path park is that the trees can stay in place and the subdivision can have this natural buffer to the power lines to the north. That's the detention pond that we hope to do some fixing on, which the board acted on here at previous meetings. So earlier, before I started the presentation, I had said that what I really would like to hear tonight is some direction from the board that I can then relay to the bank, to the LLC, and to potential builders who are looking at this subdivision, so I can tell them what the village board's expectations are in terms of the park property. And I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Hey, Cam, on the letter of credit that remains, do we have enough money in the letter of credit as this is going through, I believe, foreclosure, bankruptcy, whatever term you want to use, and it did have a letter of credit, is there enough money to do the remaining improvements to the property within the existing letter of credit?
So the letter of credit covered things like lights and streets, sidewalks, things of that nature, and so the board has done those things. We fixed some of the lights, we put in the street, you installed a few of the sidewalks in areas where there were not going to be any homes, and now it also included detention. So now the village board, of course, has approved the plan to move ahead with looking at the detention and getting the detention volumes and everything situated so that it functions appropriately. We think that there's enough money left to do that. Of course, none of the LOC, typically an LOC would cover all public improvements, which would mean the park component of this too, but it was never included in the LOC that was established at the time. So we can't use any of the LOC money for any potential park improvements.
How about the opposite? If we did option B and we took a cash settlement from them per unit and we fell short on the dollars for the improvements to the subdivision itself, could those dollars be used to finish out the subdivision?
Well, the village board establishes all the policies about donations. Your current policy is that you have this $4,000 or $3,500 amount, and it goes into the park fund for park or path development in the community. So that's your current policy. The board establishes policy, and if you want to make changes and have that money go to some other use, you could, of course, consider that. But ideally, going forward, I would recommend, of course, that all of your park donations stay in the park fund for trail and park development.
Yeah, my only question about that, and then I'll open it up to any questions, is that if the LOC is not going to cover all the improvements for a bankrupt, subdivision, and we can get a cash settlement for the park donation as it takes place, can we use that money to finish out the subdivision?
Right. So I'm not trying to evade the question, but staff does feel like there'll be enough money left in the LOC to take care of the detention improvements. And then the other things that have to happen in the subdivision, the remaining public improvements like the sidewalks, those will have to be done by the developer as he builds the units. So we think we'll be good in terms of that. And the remaining bioswale that has to be built. Obviously it wasn't built before because the homes aren't there. It will be installed as a part of the home development. So the builder would be responsible for that too.
Okay, well, my final comment is that we discussed it in administration finance, and as a developer, I think that you just won't get somebody to come in here and build a bridge and a park and all this stuff. You will get somebody that will pay the park donation. That's standard procedure for any builder that wants to build a lot. A certain portion of their permit fee goes to the park donation. I would recommend, I believe it's option B, is the one where we take the money as park donations. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah. And that would be my recommendation. Trustee Costa?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, going by the site, you're right, that's low area, it's wet. And I just pulled it up on Google Maps just to refresh something too, because to walk through there right now without waders would be difficult at best.
I have
But
dirty
anyway,
boots in my trunk to prove that point.
Yeah, on the south boundary of the, if you want to say park area, is also the outflow of Culver Park Pond. So, on heavy rains, and we all know what happens to the creek there. I think Trustee DeVivo knows better than anybody. So, to me, that parcel is really not buildable. If it's a wetland and you go through the Army Corps, anything that you do there is going to have to really be extensive and costly, and I think the maintenance costs on that in the future is going to be quite heavy. I like the idea of option B. It does give us more money for parks and areas that kids and the community can really enjoy. This will still stay as a nature area, a wetland. But I'd like to see part of that money go, I think Mayor Daley actually said it, some type of sidewalk or something to get to Heroes Trail, which is just to the north of that area. So, plus, I like the idea of a developer wanting to come in and get all of these houses built.
Right.
I think it would be a real challenge to put maybe a 300-foot path right adjacent to one that's a quarter-mile long.
Very good. One thing I'd like just to add to your comments, I think very well said. The interesting thing about that area is, of course, on the east side of the road, it just falls off dramatically from the road. But then on the west side of the road, it couldn't be flatter. It's as flat as a pancake on the west side of the road. So, and as I know you're all very familiar with it, you go by on Parker quite a bit. Right across the street from Amberfield is, of course, a park. And I'm sure a lot of the people that live in the subdivision, either with their children or their grandchildren, go over and use that park. But you're correct, Trustee Costa, in that when you go across the street immediately to the park, you have to walk on grass then to get to the Heroes Trail. You go from their parking lot, if you're at that northern access point to the subdivision, then you're walking on grass to the Heroes Trail. So one of the things that we could certainly explore is working with the township potentially and connecting the Heroes Trail into the actual park for everyone's benefit. That might be a good use of money.
Along Parker Road, Cam, because I believe Parker Road is a village road, is there right-of-way, or does the township own to the to the edge of the road.
Right, there definitely is right-of-way. The challenge with these major arterial and collector roads is that you want to try to, if you can, get as far away from the road as possible, just for safety purposes. So while there may be enough right-of-way to actually build a trail in the road right-of-way, if you could, the best alternative from a staff perspective would be to shift it farther to the west into the park, so that people could be as absolute far away from the road as possible, and then parents would feel safer.
Yeah,
with their
I'm
kids.
not saying that the township wouldn't work with us.
Right.
I think they'd be real happy to work with us. I'm just thinking if we have enough room in the right-of-way, because the problem is that that's their parking lot there.
Right.
So if you put a walking path and you start taking up their parking lot, it's already fairly crowded there. you know.
Right. The good thing about that is you enter into the parking lot, but then immediately to the right, right to the north, is where the grass starts. So yeah, I think it would be okay. You're not like entering in right in the middle of a parking lot. It's kind of in the northern terminus of it.
In one final question, as H.R. Green is looking at that detention pond,
Right.
can you have them look at the possibility of this walking path connecting up with as part of their, as long as they're going to be out there
Right.
shooting grades and doing topography and what
Right.
have you? Why don't we have them take a look at this while they're there?
I think it's a great suggestion, and that probably would be very easily and very inexpensively done. We could have them look at that.
Trustee DeVivo?
Is Trustee Costa finished?
I'm done, thank you.
Trustee
Yeah.
DeVivo?
When you really look at all of this, and so much of it is wetland, I really wouldn't be in favor of disturbing it and trying to put a path over wetland, if they could even get Army Corps to say yes to this, which I find hard to believe. But I like option B, but I also would have a couple questions about that. You know, would the village be able to take this over from homeowners association or anything? I'm asking that for another reason. If we looked at this wetland, this may be a great opportunity for a wetland restoration project. I'm going to guess it's probably not functioning the way it's supposed to, and it's possible for us to take a look at it, to have it checked out to see whether or not it can be restored and actually, drain water like it's supposed to. Because I'm going to say it's probably a mess.
I'm pretty darn sure when it gets turned over to the homeowners association,
They're not gonna want it.
that they would love to turn it over to somebody else.
Well, I know you can't use park donations for this type of project, so I don't know where the money exactly would come from, but, it's kind of a trade-off. We're gonna get money for the park donation,
Right.
maybe there'll be something somewhere.
The bank, the LLC, has expressed a desire to, if there isn't going to be a park built there or required to be parked there, they've expressed a desire to combine the parcels, the detention and this parcel, and keep it all in the hands of the homeowners association. So the homeowners association can protect the screening of the power lines. And of course, when you think about that, they're doing that with probably the builder in mind. The homes that have yet to be built are the ones closest to the power lines. So they'll want to be able to say and mean it and be able to stand by it that those trees that you see you're going to be in your hands as a member of the homeowners association, and no one's going to disturb them but the homeowners association. It's going to provide a buffer.
Well,
So I think that's what was, I'm just
Okay.
repeating
Yeah,
what was
and
described to me.
And that's fine. It probably does make sense to do something like that and let the homeowners association handle it. However, as we all know, that they don't always do the best job because they really don't have the kind of money necessary to do a project like this. I would hope that at some point in the future, if the homeowners association came to the village and wanted to work on a particular project to enhance this wetland,
Right.
that we would be willing to join in with them.
Right, and that might be the best way to approach it, just like you're partnering with Oak Valley now,
Yep.
and you're going to be doing, I believe, probably a lot of partnering with homeowners associations on detention issues. That might be the best way to go about it. Let it stay in private hands and then offer up help if help is needed.
Yeah, because one of the things that the homeowners have to understand, that area being a wetland type of situation, if it doesn't properly function the way it was intended to, and that water moves on down the road and what have you, their trees will end up dead.
They'll end up dead, you're
Yeah.
right, they will.
So I'm sure that they'd be willing to work with us if we had the funds. And, this is a process where they're trying to get it out of the bank's hands into a builder's hands. I think it's the most reasonable way because I just don't see a builder stepping in and building bridges and dealing with the Army Corps, dealing with wetland delineations and the time frame that's involved in it. I mean, my understanding is the bank has somebody interested at this point, and that's why we're trying to clarify all these situations right now. Are you finished, Trustee?
Yeah,
Revere?
that's fine.
Okay. Trustee Sabo?
Okay, I just want to backtrack a little bit pertaining to the history of this. I do see that on the PowerPoint demonstration, that it was only the Plan Commission plans were shown. And I would like to ask if, for that reason, was there no change when it came to the board, or were there changes? I think we ought to start with what did the board approve?
Right. Well, what you're looking in front of you is the attachment to the improvements on the board level. They are not very sophisticated, but that's what they are. These are the attachments to the actual board approvals.
Okay, well, I just wanted to verify that
Yeah.
because you didn't mention that before.
Right. What I did is I went back and, I think we all know that sometimes when projects go through the village, the Plan Commission, of course, usually hears them first because they're looking at it, they're giving you recommendations. And at the same time, there's a lot of discussions also happening amongst board members and staff and stuff like that. So it might be that a lot of the park discussions were happening simultaneously, but in terms of the public record, the first discussions and the majority actually of the discussions about the park stuff was through the Plan Commission.
Okay, then I would like to address the Homer Township portion there, and also just relate what had happened. Homer Township at that time was not informed that this idea was going to take place. So I think the board probably thought that Homer Township had been contacted, but they had not. The reaction from the township was not favorable. They were very concerned, as the mayor said, they were very concerned about their parking area, which is vital right there, and that a trail, combining a trail in that area with the parking, they didn't feel was that good. I don't remember the exact details, but you'd have to get that from the township. But the reaction was negative. So, and so I am really concerned about where this path would go. Are you talking about connecting are you talking about connecting the west side to the east side on the north side of the creek? On
Well,
the north side of the creek.
Sure. The
Can you repeat
interesting
that?
thing about this is that they're really kind of separate issues. In my mind, they're separate issues. The issue about what the board's expectations are now going forward in terms of the proposed park is like one issue. Do we require a builder to build it? Do we build it ourselves? Which I didn't even put as an option because I didn't even put it as an option. Or do we take the money and use those resources somewhere else? Okay, that's the main issue that I really want feedback on. The side issue that was brought up tonight and that could potentially be a possibility is, do we work with the township to use some of those resources after we get them, the 100 and some thousand, to build some kind of connection to Heroes Trail? It is interesting, Heroes Trail delivers this trail to this park, and yet there is no connection. There's no path connection from the trail into the park. So if you're riding your bicycle to that park, you're going from the trail onto grass. So, there could be potentially some kind of trail somehow with the township's blessing and cooperation. But they're really two separate issues.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
Well, they were-
what we're here to give direction on and to get it towards legislation and what have you at maybe the next meeting is the separate issue of are you going to mandate the builder to build the park and go that route? Or are you going to say that the park doesn't make a lot of sense because we're going to take most of the screening in order to build a park there, you'd have to take most of the screening out, then you're seeing the high lines and what have you. And with that in mind, and the fact that you've got the Heroes Trail right behind it, do you want option B to take the money? Because we could sit here all night long and talk about a trail in the future, but we haven't even talked with the township yet. It's just a possibility for the future, that's all.
Well, my reaction to the information that I received was to address the issues that had been presented about the township and working with the township. I think that government should cooperate before any decision is made to avoid any problems, that they should be contacted to see what their reaction is. And so that's why I mentioned that. As far as the main issue here, and I would hope that something adequate, if it's necessary to have a path. Right now, I can't see it's necessary to have a path because people are on the Heroes Trail right now, and they don't need a trail to connect to the park. The park is right there. They can walk. So I'm not quite understanding that. So maybe in the future there could be some details.
Can I just get this clear once again? These are two separate issues that have not even been discussed with the township. We are here tonight to give the village board direction as to when we're talking with the bank that is trying to bring a builder in. Do you want to mandate that the park be built, that the builder that takes over these 27 remaining units has to build the park, or is he going to be allowed to pay the park donation? And the whole issue of a walking path is a totally separate issue that has not had any feet or any discussion whatsoever with the township. So I'd like to just leave that for another night because I need to talk with Supervisor Myers and find out, more detail if we go that route. But we haven't even decided yet if the park has to be built or not built.
I understand that, but when information goes out, it should be made clearer as to what's going to happen, and that would be the future. I realize what the main idea is here, to decide whether it's option A or B.
Okay.
So I want to address some points that have brought up. If other people can make comments, I would like to make my comments. So I'd like to address what Trustee DeVivo had said about wetlands.
Go right ahead.
And I think she's absolutely correct. We know that, and we've worked together on the stormwater ordinance and very concerned about wetlands. And so there would be a lot of work there. I think in this project in the past really did not pay enough attention to the environmental aspects. Those of us know what this property looked like before. So that's why we were very concerned on the board at that time to have a good stormwater program, so that because the creek is nearby. So I agree with her on that, so there should be investigation. As far as protecting the trees, and that has been mentioned, this was supposed to be a passive park. I agree that it should continue to be a passive park, and that the trees are a very important feature of this area. And of course, they naturally grow near the water's edge. The detention, I saw how the detention pond went in. I really, you've evaluated it correctly. It's not convenient the way that it really is to get to the other side. I think with option A, I'd like to see some reaction from the Amberfield subdivision, not just anticipate what we think they're going to say. And cost is a factor. They have assessments to pay. There's a lot in that subdivision that they would be responsible for. So taking on a park may not be what they would consider, but I do think we owe them the courtesy, since that was in the original plan to have a park for this subdivision, that they should be contacted. As far as another point that was brought up was the amount of $105,000 for the 27 units when they were completed, which is a nice sum to work with. I think that should be directed to use for a park and not be used for the LOC. But I'm not, I want to clarify then that this land, is it 1 acre or is it 5? I thought it was 5.
I think the proposed park acres is approximately
You need a microphone.
I think the proposed park area was approximately 1, but then the detention areas, are bigger than the park.
I remember a 5-acre parcel somewhere along there.
It says open space 4 acres on the
Yeah,
area in here. So I don't know what they're including there.
right. I
Going
think
back-
that what they probably did was combine all the detention
Yeah,
area
yeah.
as,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right. So in the end, if we would go with option B, I need some more details on, the homeowners wouldn't be operating that park. It would be the village.
well,
that
there
would
wouldn't be a
operate it.
park.
There wouldn't be a park.
There
Right.
wouldn't be a park
There wouldn't be
there.
a park. The land would remain as it is naturally and not disturbed and
Okay.
behind the detention area. And so then it would serve basically for them as a buffer to the power lines and
All right.
add to their detention area acreage.
Okay, then who will maintain that section?
It would, just like the detention ponds, which will probably require more maintenance. Remember, the detention ponds are already in the hands of the HOA. They are going to be in the HOA, and that's the lion's share of this open space, in quotations, the open space. So this additional park acreage would be added to that, all right? The HOA is already responsible for the detention areas. This will just be a
Yes.
smaller portion of land addition to that.
And what-
I think
what's-
the LLC, I'm sorry, Mayor.
And what's going on is that a portion of the remaining money of the LOC is correcting the detention pond to make sure it was built to the way it was approved by the village board at the time.
Yes.
So this will be property that the HOA has, but we are going to see that it's done correctly, and they have a functional detention pond. Now, if this park, if we don't mandate a park has to be built, it will add to the area. The discussion that was brought up by Trustee DeVivo about the possibility in the future of helping them manage the property, I think is a good idea, because like we discussed before, if it gets if it floods and it doesn't work the way it's supposed to work, they're going to lose their buffer because the trees will get drowned out and that'll be it.
Well-
So there's a lot of options out there. All we're really trying to do here tonight, trying to give the bank an answer as they're dealing, they are currently dealing with a builder. Is this park going to be mandated, or is a park donation sufficient to a future builder in that community?
I was just thinking about, when I say contact Amberfield, because if that is going to just be passive on that side, it's not going to be disturbed or touched, it's going to be left in its natural state. It does require some maintenance, but that is, open space in Homer Glen is one of the advantages that people like to see, so that it's not completely built out everywhere. And land doesn't always have to be, that's open, doesn't always have to become an active park. So if the land is just to be left as it is, wouldn't the homeowners, wouldn't the homeowners benefit from some of the funding wouldn't the village be able to help them with that certain section? Is that possible?
Well, I mean, the village board can do whatever you want with public funds. You know, it's a policy decision.
Well, I've
And
just,
that also was discussed earlier, that if in the future, when the park becomes their property, if we decide to go with option B, because right now the bank owns it, they don't own it. So we have to decide A or B, and actually, the Amberfield residents don't have anything to say. It's not their property at this point.
The homeowners association right now, you know, before development turns 50%, of course, the homeowners association is in the hands of the LLC. Okay, and this is the firm, Dave Galwich and the people that we've been working with are the firm that the LLC hired to manage the subdivision until they're able to get a builder in there. So when they turn the final, homeowners association over to the residents of the subdivision, the detention and this open area, I'm going to stop talking about it like it's a park, this open land area would be deeded to the homeowners association.
yeah, and that's where they would have to know, if we chose option B, that would be the result. And are they interested in that responsibility?
Yeah, the only people that I know so far are the LLC and the representatives and the builder that is currently interested in it. They're very interested in that because they want the builder feels, I believe, that if residents who are coming to look at the buildings that he has not yet built, that they will feel a greater sense of security when his salespeople are able to tell them those trees that you see right there are going to be owned by the homeowners association, so no one can just come in and randomly cut them down or put paths and cut them down or anything like that, whether it's a government agency or someone else. So he feels that there'll be a greater sense of security and that will help him sell homes, which of course is what he's in the business for doing. The management company feels that if you know, given the fact they've had to step in here, the subdivision didn't make it, went into foreclosure. Okay, so originally the intent was a park. The park's potentially not going to happen. So the next best thing is that the property remain natural in nature, serve as a buffer. And, you know, it's the next best thing for the residents as opposed to the trails. Of course, before the subdivision was built, and probably before any of those people built their homes, right, the Heroes Trail didn't exist. So this trail that was planned for this property, which in staff's opinion was not fully formed in any way, shape, or form, you know, it's all done on paper. I can tell you right now that standing right here, you're in about 1.5 feet of water. 2 weeks ago when we went out and did it. So the plan was not fully formed. And you have just, you know, a small little trail system here when you can go to the Heroes Trail, get on it, and go for miles.
Well, that's not uncommon, though. I mean, they made a park donation. They were going to do engineering at a certain point. That was going to be where the park was, and this is basically sketch plans of where the park's supposed to go. Are you finished, Trustee Sabo? Trustee DeVivo wanted to say something.
Yes, I just feel that the residents in the village should work together. I think that hopefully that the residents will be informed all the way through this. And a natural area and keeping the buffer, that's a protection for this subdivision. I have always promoted that in any development, that there would be protection for the residents.
Okay, I believe Trustee DeVivo wanted to say something.
Well, and that being said, I think that I would really like a warm fuzzy feeling to make sure that this land doesn't somehow get turned over to the wrong person, or is it going to be said in the deed that it absolutely has to be open space?
Right. I think what most builders today, and the mayor alluded to this earlier, what most builders want to do when they step into a subdivision like this is they want a complete understanding. And so it would probably end up be put on paper. These are our expectations, and something that the village board would act on in some way. And of course, we'd have to talk to the attorneys about that, so that it's completely understood what your expectations are. So your expectations are the park will not be built. This parcel will be deeded to the homeowners association. This amount of money will be paid at this point. for park development. That will all have to be put on paper.
Because this looks, I mean, they're talking about this being Lot 18. It looks like the whole area is all one unit anyway, so.
It's divided up into a couple different parcels for tax purposes, yeah.
Okay,
All right.
trustee Sabo?
Because we want this to remain natural, is there a way that the village could encourage this so that the land is kept in perpetuity? Would that have to be part of the agreement when it goes to the homeowners association? How would that happen to protect this section?
The village attorney would probably be better able to
Go ahead
answer
and
that
address
question
that.
if there's
You're gonna
something
need
that
the
could be done.
Yes.
Thank you.
Man of many words.
Okay. You have anything else to say, trustee Sabo?
No, you're so kind. Not at this moment, though.
Okay, good. All right, is there any further discussion? Okay, then, I
I-
believe the direction, if I have it correct, is that the board would favor option B, and that the village manager would bring that forward in legislation, and that's about it.
All right, very good. So I will contact the representatives of the LLC and let them know that we'd like to start putting together a document that puts this all down so everybody's understanding is the same.
Okay.
Okay?
And,
Ye-
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
And that the other side issues with paths or access is not part of our agreement here. That's to be worked
No.
out in the future.
Yes.
I can kind of
Or-
answer that, Mayor. One of the things that the park committee is working on is connections, and that might be something that we can bring up and talk to the township about, is how they might want to possibly in the future put some connections, because those are the things that we're looking for now, off that trail.
Okay,
So.
perfect. Is there
Thank
any
you.
further discussion? Okay, that concludes our workshop item for tonight. Is there any old business? Okay, is there any new business? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to, the next item is executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing executive session minutes and land acquisition?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich.
Second.
Second by trustee Costa. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're going to go into executive session, and we'll be back in a bit.